At 5, drivers in Illinois with autism or other communication disabilities can now disclose that information to the state. It's so they can have better communication with police. WGEM's Dylan Smith talked with police today. And Dylan, tell us, what do they think?
Well, Daniel, Quincy's deputy police chief says the more information officers have before even approaching a vehicle at a traffic stop, the better. There's already a program in place in Quincy. People with medical conditions can request a special card at the department. They would show that card in the event of having to talk with police. The difference with the state's program, though, is that specific information would be linked to their car registration and license plate.
What that does is that gives us an alert that the person isn't probably being defiant. They're not, ignoring us or not answering our questions, but they have a disability that they're suffering from.
And to get a card, Tyler says to stop by QPD. We have a link to the state registration on WGEM.com. Daniel?